I'm doing this quick because I get a call every time I start these, and I just don't like editing. I just like a one take. So I'm restarting again. Let me be. We're gonna look at the final standing projections. They now put me in number one, but ignore this bullshit. I think this might be the equivalent to the old power rankings because I do get mad at this. I am now put number one, so that's cool. But they put Mateo number two, and I'm pretty sure last week they put him in the bottom half. So yeah, this thing just randomly picks what it likes and what it doesn't. So ignore it. I'm curious to see which week is the most accurate when we finally get to who makes the playoffs and not. So I'm happy I am recording it, but we'll see. Going to the matchups here. Matchup one is me and Mark. Now, I mostly get carried here by my running backs and my defense. I bet against Joe Flacco last week and it burnt me. I was like, no way Joe Flacco has another good game again. I was right. Fuck you, Joe Flacco. Um, Herbert, who I trade for, gets 12.58. You might laugh at that, but hey, 12.58 is the highest quarterback performance I have on the season. So, fuck you, whoever thinks that. Um, but yeah, 7.5s without a touchdown. I'm actually okay with scores like that. If you do get single digits, I do like higher end single digit games. So overall, pretty good performance. Hollywood on the bench too. We could have scored more. That's the take. I want to have my most ideal lineup started every week, and I don't have that any of these weeks yet. So once I figure this out, I think my team will be really nasty. So good win for me. Mark actually has a good week. I'm going to be completely honest here. His waiver wire quarterback gets 18.9. His running backs get 23, even though they're projected like almost 30. 23 is still not bad. Kyle Pitts outperforms his projections. Debo Samuel, very active in the first half, just not very used in the second half. I think he got a little banged up that game, but I don't actually quite remember. Graham Gano, this one came down to Monday night. Graham Gano did give me a little scare here, but Saquon puts it to bed. Uh, the tail of the tape with Marcus is wide receivers, man. He did trade for Debo, but he might need to do another trade. He put a lot of draft capital in Brees Hall and Etienne, and they don't have bad performances. They are involved in the offense, so you might need to trade for another wide receiver. He also like to blame me for starting Treylon Burks because I asked for Treylon in a trade, and he was thinking about starting Dobbs. He swears. And I was thinking about starting Hollywood. I started in week one and two and benched him three. So screw you, buddy. I don't like that excuse. Moving on though, good win for me. Our undefeated boy Finn has fallen to Tony. Tony, after the trade, looks strong. Josh Allen, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett all do really well, double digit points. Has four single digit performances, and they're like 9.3, 9, 8, 6.8 on his flex, and he could have had a Thielen in there who got 15. So honestly, just a huge performance from Tony. Statement win after the trade for sure. Could mean more later, and I'll show you what I mean. Now, here's the concern with Finn. Finn just got his first loss, so shouldn't be too concerned, right? Except for he has two healthy running backs on his team. I told him to pick up Damian Williams before the season started, and he did, and he got on IR after week one, and he hasn't dropped him, hasn't put him on his IR, just keeps him here. He's also keeping Sky Moore on his team, who contributed nothing but a fumbled punt return. Uh, we need you more active on the waivers, Finn. Two healthy running backs on your team, and one of which is a backup. Might not cut it. We need you more active on the waivers. You need to. You have a lot of receivers, to be completely honest. Cooper Kupp, Drake London, Cooks, Keenan Allen. Even Russell Gage had a good week. You trade one of those guys for a running back, and you'll be a lot more solid. So a little cause for concern for Finn, but still a good win from Tony nonetheless. 86 is not even that bad of a performance. Everyone does pretty well besides like Cooks and Stafford. So good week from Tony. Now we're going to talk about Mateo's team in this Phil Mateo matchup first. Bounce back from Cam Akers. Clyde gets 12.4 despite having 7 rushes for no yards, but he did get a touchdown in there. Still concerning. Justin Jefferson. I don't know what to think of the Minnesota Vikings. That's kind of the reason I also traded Dalvin Cook. They looked good in week one against the Packers where they force fed J Jet, but now it just seems like I don't know. I don't know what to think of the Vikings. So it's a new scheme. We'll see what goes on. Besides Justin Jefferson, though, everyone goes off. Jalen Waddle in a tough matchup does really well. Mark Andrews living up for that draft capital, getting 25 from the tight end position is huge. Ayuk does well. The Eagles defense, what a start for them against Washington. Young Way, I never should have dropped you. I miss you. He loses points in the quarterback position because Tua got a concussion, but he does have Rodgers showing on the bench. Olave looks good. Boyd had a good game, but I don't know if you could bank on that. Still, overall good performance. Now we're going to talk about Phil here because he is 0-3, but I don't even hate his team. Jonathan Taylor underperformed again. Jonathan Taylor had a slow start last year too, so I do think he could still pick it up. Aaron Jones, I don't know what to think of Green Bay. I don't know what to think of Green Bay. But now doing these weekly recaps, I am wondering why I'm seeing Robbie Anderson and Hunter Henry again. I saw them lose you a matchup last week, and they're in here again. I say we move Devonta Smith up to wide receiver 2. And we play the flex by ear. Maybe a Damian Harris, maybe Judy, maybe even Burkhead. We get one of those guys in there, and you win this matchup. So, anyways, good win for Mateo. His team did really well, besides Justin Jefferson, and Phil can bounce back from this. 0-3 is not a cemented record, by the way. You can easily fight back from 0-3. You do forget this, like 14 weeks. 14? Yeah, there's like 14 weeks in a fantasy season, so 3 weeks in means nothing. Moving on. Now this matchup could have been bad. Brian in here, Brian in here saying there's no chance this guy puts up 20, and this guy is a catch and 3 yards away from the win. Brian, you have a good team here, but you got bailed. Um, Everyone does really well. Mike Williams without Keenan Allen cannot do that well for some reason, but he does have Gabe Davis, Amari Cooper, Khalil Herbert. If David Montgomery misses more time, could be huge. I honestly think Brian's team's really good. But how you get bailed here is this guy Vinny benching Zeke, who had bad week 1 and 2. But he puts in Mecole Hardman, who gets him .7. Now, not only is benching Zeke not even that hard of a thing to consider the reason why you lose, but even if Vinny starts Darrell Henderson, who gets 1.7 over Mecole Hardman, he beats you, Brian. So you get super duper bailed. Lamar Jackson also looks like an MVP. Vinny could build on this. Najee fumbled at the end, could have had a better game. With that fumble, gets Vinny the win if that fumble doesn't happen. So CD's performance is something to be happy about. You could build on this, Vinny. 1 and 2 is not terrible, but Brian, good win. You could build on this as well. I think you're one of the better teams in your division. Speaking of your division, Devin loses. All undefeated teams gone by week 3. By the way, fucking insane. This one was kind of just a shit show. Not a lot to talk about. Good. Tyler Conklin is going to be a tight end. That's going to be talked about for a little bit. Uh, Austin's kicker has already been cut. Apparently, I'm seeing this right now. That's hilarious. But I'm gonna credit this loss mostly to David Montgomery getting losing your starting running back in the first quarter. A bit unlucky. You do have Jamal Williams, who's honestly is Austin's RB1 who got hurt, so that's funny. But Austin also has a running back he could put in here, so not terrible, but you could still build on that. Chase and Adams underperform. You think they're going to get over 30 and they get 20 combined. Pittman in his return does well. It's mostly the David Montgomery play. I don't know what to think of Kittle either. You thought Jimmy G would be better, but whatever. Amon Ra gets hurt for Austin, so that could be another thing to look out for. But we'll see, man. Uh, Good win for Austin. Moving on. Josh gets his first win of the year with a 20-point win over Greg. Greg is gonna live and die by Patrick Mahomes, as well as the other players. I'm not gonna lie, Patrick Mahomes does all right. Uh, Joe Mixon doesn't do that well. DJ Moore underperforms insanely. Honestly, everyone underperformed besides the Cowboys defense for Greg. So Not that great of a start. He did have Ramondre Stevenson on his bench, so he could build on that maybe if Ramondre gets more work. I do think that the running backs are a pretty big vocal point in New England, so see if we can build on that. But also Josh's team looked really good. Um, I'm talking about mostly his receivers. Terry McLaurin, Christian Kirk, and Deontay Johnson are big. And he Alvin Kamara went down, and James Conner, who he traded for, did all right. But Devin Singletary, Cordell Patterson, and Melvin Gordon are all solid running backs. Even Tony Pollard, four running backs on the bench could be pretty. Honestly, Josh has a pretty good team. Josh's first win out of the way, he could build on this. He could build on this. So, yep, that's what the standings look like after this week of matchups. We do have, I think, like 7 people at 2-1, which is insane. That's literally majority of the league at 2-1. But we'll see how this unfolds. We do have 4 of the people in the East at 2-1. We closed out our East matchups through week 5. So then after that, we'll be interdivisional again. So uh, all this matters. All your division record does matter. So uh, one last thing I want to do. I want to do a preview. I started doing this. I want to see. I had them all up earlier. Here we are. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this in here and talk about week 4 matchups. So week 4 matchups preview. Tony and I, first matchup since our trade. Dalvin will now be playing against me. He is questionable, and I do have Alexander Madison, but I heard it's just a dislocated shoulder, and he always has dislocated shoulders, and he actually has a harness that he plays with to avoid dislocating his shoulder. So apparently Dalvin Cook's going to be fine. So that's what I'm hearing at least. My matchup with Tony is like this. I'm 4-2 against Tony, winning 3 of 4, but he did beat me the year I won the title. So anything could happen. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna win here. We'll see though. The next matchup we have here is Mateo and Finn. Now this could be a tough matchup because these are two-1 teams in the East. Uh, Tony and I were also 2-1 teams, so the 2-1 teams are actually battling it out. Uh, Pretty closely projected, but if you want to look at anything, Mateo has run this rivalry apparently. I think he's a winner of 6 of 7. Yeah, holy crap. Mateo's won 6 out of the last 7 matchups between the two. So I think Mateo might have the edge here. Does he have the edge in projections by 0.4? But fuck projections. Yeah, we'll see that. That's gonna be a good matchup. Phil trying to get his first win against Mark. How's this matchup looked? Mostly it leans Mark's way. Has it? Oh, but wait. Phil's won the last 2. He's on a 2-game win streak. So this matchup could go either way. It seems that Phil just had low scoring efforts early on, but now he gets start getting these wins. All right, Phil could do this. Is anyone hurt in the matchup? T Higgins apparently, but I think he'll be fine. All right, next matchup is Vinny and Devin. Now, Vinny's projections aren't final because Bashard Perriman is not going to start anymore. Mecole Hardman is probably projected nothing, so projections are kind of stupid right now. And here's something that is a little surprising. Vinny runs this rivalry apparently. Vinny has won 3 of 4 against Devin. 6-2 total out of the 8, including a playoff win where it was pretty dominant. So this matchup could go either way. I think Vinny has a good team, just been a bit unfortunate, and I'll see what happens with David Montgomery. Will he play or not? Maybe he just plays Jamal Williams over him anyway, but we'll see. We'll see. Um, Next matchup we have is Brian and Greg. Um, I think this one is going to be a close one. Oh, he already took out Mike Will, starting Mari Cooper. Okay, okay, okay. How's this matchup looked? 8-3. So Brian has won this heavily, including 2 playoff wins. Yeah, wow. Dude, low scoring playoff wins. The matchups average is 84 to 66. What the hell? Yeah, actually, really scoring rivalry, but Brian seems to get these results. 8-3 out of the 11 matchups is pretty big gap. I do think Brian has a really good team too. Probably have him win this over Greg. And the last matchup is Austin versus Josh. Uh, Pretty close projection. Oh yeah, he already made his subs. Pretty close projection, honestly, but oh, and honestly, pretty close head to head overall too. Hmm, interesting. And Josh has won the last two. Interesting. Okay, okay. So yeah, that's about it, boys. That's all I have for you. Stay tuned for next week's recap, and yeah, that's about it. Talk to you boys later. Hey, do waivers, by the way, too. Waivers always happen at Tuesday night. They're in your team by Wednesday morning. Do waivers. Want want y'all to be competitive. I'm putting you on game. All right. Peace, boys.